Shintong planned to send Amber back to Blizzard City first, while he would continue onward to Iceflower Swamp to battle Wan Yang. Amber turned to look at Deng Shintong. Her eyes were large, with deep, amber-colored pupils. After a moment's thought, she suddenly spoke in a cool, clear voice, "I can take you there." Deng Shintong looked at her with some surprise. "Aren't you afraid?" Amber replied softly, "I'm not afraid. Because no one can hurt me." As she spoke, a sweet smile blossomed on her lips. It was warm and radiant, like sunlight, illuminating Deng Shintong's heart. It made the heart of this wandering soul flutter for the first time in ages. Deng Shintong waited until she had finished eating. Then, with one arm around her waist, he lifted her onto the back seat of the Snow Metro Wolf. He then instructed to Amber, "Hold on tight. The wind and snow are fierce, don't let yourself get blown off." Hearing this, Amber immediately wrapped her arms tightly around his sturdy waist. The Snow Metro Wolf started up. Its intelligence system automatically connected to the Nebula Star System for navigation, pinpointing the location of the Iceflower Swamp before setting off in that direction. Half a day later, they arrived at the Iceflower Swamp. Even from a distance, the peculiarity of this place was evident. No snowflakes drifted upon the ground, the entire expanse was a single sheet of crystalline ice. In midair, chaotic swirls of snow obscured the landscape for dozens of kilometers around. This effect could be replicated by a deputy-level ice elementalist, so Deng Shintong didn't find it particularly remarkable. He didn't recklessly drive the snowmobile into the swamp. Instead, he dismounted, and Amber jumped off the vehicle as well. "Are you coming with me?" Deng Shintong asked, looking at her. Amber nodded silently. A flicker of interest crossed Deng Shintong's eyes. He left the motorcycle outside the Iceflower Swamp and retrieved weapons and bullets from his storage compartment, tucking them into his gear. After a moment's thought, he handed Amber a small silver pistol. "Keep this for self-defense." Amber took the pistol and tucked it into her pocket. Deng Shintong gripped his sword, stepping steadily into the heart of the Iceflower Swamp. Amber followed closely at his side. The vast frozen marsh stretched out like a perfectly smooth mirror. Their footsteps echoed across the ice. Beneath the thick surface, a pair of enormous, cold eyes opened, sweeping over the two insignificant humans on the ice. Soon, more pairs of massive eyes glowed in the darkness of the marsh. Beneath the ice, the frigid lake water churned as one terrifying, massive form after another silently crept toward their location. Deng Shintong seemed utterly unaware, continuing forward with his sword pressed against his side. Though the path ahead was obscured by the blizzard, the nebula star system above guided him along the optimal route. They walked for an unknown duration until Amber suddenly halted. Deng Shintong took a few steps forward before turning to look at her. Amber stood with her hands tucked into the pockets of her jacket, gazing at him silently. "You're not the first Blizzard City soldier to come here. Those who came before you are all dead. I warned you. You ignored my advice. This isn't my fault." Deng Shintong smiled curiously. "Of course it isn't your fault. I came here of my own accord." Amber retreated step by step. Suddenly, the thick ice between her and Deng Shintong exploded with a thunderous crash. Boom! Over 10 meters of ice shattered instantly from below, sending a deluge of ice shards hurtling toward Deng Shintong like falling boulders. Deng Shintong watched the chaos unfold with a cold, clear gaze. His left hand extended forward, and a white radiance began to radiate outward from him. Praise of light formed a massive protective barrier, enveloping his entire body and deflecting all the colossal ice fragments. Yet the next instant, the ice beneath Deng Shintong's feet abruptly collapsed. His gaze lowered slightly, revealing a massive shadow suddenly emerging beneath him, engulfing the entire area under his feet. Crack! Thick ice shattered like glass, revealing a monstrous maw beneath Deng Shintong's feet. Its interior was filled with vicious, barbed teeth, resembling a terrifying abyss lunging toward him. Snap! A monstrous, thick jaw snapped shut mid-air, stretching over 10 meters long. Its thick, brown skin resembled armor, evoking a primal dread in anyone who saw it. Amber Eyes watched this unfold nearby, her gaze showing little emotion. I warned you. Too bad you were overconfident in your own strength. Since you're going to die anyway, you might as well help me out. The colossal monster's body slowly descended, its features now vaguely discernible. It was a colossal crocodile over 30 meters long. Moreover, vast shadows had already engulfed the surrounding area for hundreds of meters. Clearly, this monster was not alone. Amber stood rooted to the spot, showing no fear of their attack. The crocodiles, too, showed no intention of attacking her. Amber took a deep breath, silently mourning the handsome man she'd only met once. But just as she prepared to head to the center of the iceflower swamp to apologize to Wan Yang, a piercing white light erupted from beneath the ice. Puff! Crushed ice, towering waves, and a sky-filling blood rain surged skyward. Deng Shintong, who had just been swallowed by the giant crocodile, slowly descended onto the ice, enveloped in a sacred white light. He looked down at the crocodile horde in the iceflower swamp below, his eyes showing not a trace of fear. So these are the monsters Wan Yang breeds. For anyone below captain rank, dealing with these beasts would be extremely troublesome. The carcass of the dead giant crocodile quickly drew the attention of other crocodiles scrambling for it, but even more chose to break through the ice and attack Deng Shintong. Boom! The ice, clearly over 10 meters thick, shattered before them as if made of paper. Gigantic jaws lunged voraciously at Deng Shintong. Monstrous beasts, dozens of meters long, crawled out of the ice holes like terrifying prehistoric creatures. Their forelegs scuttled swiftly toward Deng Shintong. Facing this onslaught, Deng Shintong raised his long sword. An even more powerful holy light erupted from his body, radiating like a sun that illuminated the entire iceflower swamp. Void world! In that instant, all surrounding creatures were stripped of their sight. Even the fiercest beasts became disoriented and frantic, blinded. Amber stared in astonishment at the void-filled world before her, panic stirring within her for the first time. Soon, the sound of fabric tearing echoed relentlessly in her ears. When her eyes cleared, all she could see was a scene straight out of hell. The mutated giant crocodiles, as large as small mountains, lay piled upon each other, their bodies mangled and bloody. The ice beneath her feet and the swamp itself had long since been soaked crimson by the vast pool of blood. Amber stared ahead in utter bewilderment at the scene before her, a vision of carnage as brutal as the hell of Azura. Deng Shintong stood clad in his armor, a long sword in hand, yet not a single trace of blood stained his body. Her pupils contracted slightly as she stared at the man before her in disbelief, instinctively taking 2 steps back. Who exactly are you? Deng Shintong looked at her, asking calmly, that question should be mine to ask you. Who exactly are you? Amber's voice grew faint. She lowered her head, murmuring, this isn't me harming you. You came here of your own accord. Deng Shintong replied, I know. That's precisely why I won't blame you for this. But you're peculiar. He scrutinized Amber from head to toe. I think I've figured out what your ability is now. The moment I first saw you, something felt off. Why did you make me feel an unusually strong sense of familiarity? He sighed deeply. Ever since that incident 2 years ago, I've been studying that man, learning to be wary of everything. Yet you shattered that guard effortlessly. From the very beginning, I wondered if it had something to do with your ability. And then there's this, a woman as delicate as you, falling into the clutches of those vicious wandering souls, yet not suffering a single scratch. That alone was enough to make me suspicious. Listening to Deng Shintong's words, Amber quietly clenched her fists but remained silent with her head bowed. She hadn't fled in panic, partly because it would be futile, she lacked the means to escape such a powerful otherworldly being, and partly because she didn't fear the man before her. Deng Shintong continued, at first, I could understand the wandering souls sparing you because they saw great value in you. But now, seeing even these giant crocodiles refrain from attacking you, I understand. He smiled faintly, his gaze deep as he studied Amber. Your ability is to gain others' favor, making people, even mutant beasts, unable to harbor hostility toward you. Correct? So no matter the situation, you never worry about facing danger. Amber's face paled further. She bit her lip, then abruptly lifted her head to stare at Deng Shintong. Are you saying you want to kill me? Her ability had indeed been accurately described by Deng Shintong. Her ability was called, in the name of love. In this chaotic, peril-filled apocalypse, death could strike anyone at any moment. Amber feared death. This intense sense of peril had granted her the ability to be cherished and protected by all. Deng Shintong raised an eyebrow. I've said it before, coming here was my own choice. I won't blame you. He looked deeply at Amber. But your ability. It probably isn't that simple, is it? A mere ability like this wouldn't even qualify as a B-level mission escort in Blizzard City. Amber remained silent. She couldn't reveal her own information to others, it was an instinct honed in the apocalypse. Deng Shintong waved his hand dismissively. Never mind. If you don't want to talk about it, fine. I'm going to find Wan Yang. If you're scared, get out of here now. He turned and continued walking toward the front of the iceflower swamp. Just as he had taken a dozen steps, Amber's voice called out from behind him. Hey! I can guide you. Deng Shintong turned back. Amber caught up, panting, her eyes flickering with conflict before hardening into resolve. Huh? Why? Aren't you one of Wan Yang's men? Deng Shintong stared at her in surprise. Amber shook her head vigorously. No, I'm not his subordinate. It's just. If you can kill Wan Yang, I can help you. Deng Shintong stared at her. If you want to follow me, you must be completely honest with me. I don't want someone by my side whose loyalties I can't clearly identify. Amber clenched her fists, finally revealing the truth to Deng Shintong. Wan Yanji is the overlord of this region. Every human living here must submit to his rule. So I'm not his subordinate, to be precise, I'm merely his slave. Amber's voice grew colder at the mention of Wan Yang. He's a monstrous pervert. Killing, torturing, tormenting, to him, everyone around him is nothing but a toy. Deng Shintong rubbed his nose. So that's why you chose to flee, right? Then why come back now? Amber gave a cold laugh. Do you think Blizzard City is some paradise? For an outcast like me, wherever I go, I'm just another toy for others to play with. The rumors about Blizzard City, hardly anyone in the entire Jiangnan region is unaware of them. You've certainly made no shortage of experiments using wandering mutants. Deng Shintong couldn't refute that. Both Zhu Zheng's research center and Deng's tech had conducted extensive human experiments after the apocalypse. The best subjects, without a doubt, were the outsiders who refused Blizzard City's control. Amber lowered her head and continued, when the wandering souls came for me, I knew Wan Yang was furious about my escape. And you stubbornly insisted on seeking him out, talking about purging him. Deng Shintong's eyes widened in sudden understanding. So you were essentially using me as a pledge of loyalty, hoping to earn Wan Yang's forgiveness? Amber gave a bitter smile, her eyes flickering with a heartbreaking despair. I don't want to die. But I can only exist as a vine, clinging to others. As she spoke, she looked at Deng Shintong, her eyes brimming with hope. But you're different from all the others I've encountered. Perhaps you truly have the power to kill Wan Yang. She stepped closer to Deng Shintong and reached out to grasp his sleeve. In that moment, Deng Shintong felt an intense wave of loneliness and fear radiating from the girl, seeping deep into his own heart. Please. Save me. Deng Shintong sighed helplessly. It really is a useful ability, but now that I know what you can do, please don't casually influence me. Amber was embarrassed as she let go. Sorry. But, Deng Shintong smiled, reaching out to ruffle her hair, I promise you, I'll take care of that Wan Yang guy. Amber lifted her head to look up at Deng Shintong. Will we win? We will win. Deng Shintong smiled, his eyes holding unwavering confidence. He turned and strode forward with determined steps toward the front of the iceflower swamp. Amber hurried to his side, biting her lip before finally choosing to trust the man before her. At the heart of the iceflower swamp, blizzards swirled madly overhead, yet failed to disturb the small island at the lake center within the core region below. The biting frost couldn't reach this place. The island wasn't large, holding only a Gothic villa standing tall upon it. It was midday, yet the sky remained cold and clear. The thin sun cast a pallid light, unable to dispel the chill of this frozen apocalypse. A man clad in a crimson cloak slowly approached the edge of the island. His frame was exceptionally tall, easily over 6 feet, his bright red hair slicked back into a glossy pompadour styled with the freshest blood. 2 attendants followed closely behind him, each wearing a skull mask that obscured half their faces. This red-haired man was none other than the lord of the iceflower swamp, Wan Yang. With one hand, he elegantly swirled a wine glass, tipping its crimson, viscous liquid into his mouth. The quality of today's blood is somewhat poor. He frowned, coldly addressing the attendant behind him. One attendant immediately bowed and replied, "These livestock have been milked for 2 months now, the quality has declined. We will seek new ones to replace them." Wan Yang nodded. "See it done swiftly. Without premium fresh blood, my throat itself grows uncomfortable." He placed the goblet on the tray held by the attendant, then walked to the lake shore and crouched down. Here, the lake water had not yet frozen. Even the surrounding air hovered around 0 degrees Celsius. While hardly pleasant, it was undoubtedly a sanctuary in this frozen world. Wan Yang dipped his right hand into the lake water, gently swirling it for a moment. Suddenly, his expression turned icy, a cold curve lifting at the corners of his mouth. Iceflower swamp. It seems a guest has arrived. The giant crocodiles he personally raised offered no response. That alone confirmed the presence of an enemy. "You two, go receive him." Wan Yang commanded the 2 attendants behind him. A cold, murderous intent flashed in both their eyes. "Yes, master." Swish. In an instant, the pair vanished from their spot, their movements ghostly swift. Wan Yang stood up, shaking the water from his hands, his gaze fixed on the distance. "This prey seems rather interesting. I wonder just how delicious his flesh will be." As he spoke, a flicker of excitement danced in his eyes. He instinctively licked his crimson lips. Deng Shintong and Amber stepped steadily toward the center of the iceflower swamp. As they walked, he placed small, dark silver discs, each barely half the size of a palm, throughout the marsh. These were bombs of immense yield, powerful enough to blast through the entire iceflower swamp. Deng Shintong was no longer the reckless youth he once was. He remained confident in his abilities, yet he acted with greater caution and vigilance. He needed more victories to prove his strength and maintain the Deng family's standing in the Jiangnan region. Soon, the 2 passed through layers of snow mist, and a tall villa began to emerge faintly before their eyes. But Deng Shintong halted his steps. Amber stopped behind him and asked, "Why did you stop?" "Because someone's coming." Amber cautiously peered forward from behind him. Through the hazy snow mist, 2 figures slowly approached. A man and a woman, both clad in black and white combat suits, their faces concealed by skull masks. And a long sword was sheathed in each of their backs. "Be careful. They're the 2 elite guards by Wan Yang's side. Their strength is unfathomable." Amber looked at Deng Shintong, cautiously warning him. Deng Shintong gave a faint nod. Then he offered Amber a gentle smile. "You retreat a bit first. I'll handle this here." Amber obediently retreated to the rear. The 2 guards spotted Deng Shintong and the running Amber, their eyes flashing with cold mockery. Those useless wandering souls couldn't even handle such a trivial task. "But you've come right to us, this saves us a lot of trouble." Deng Shintong smiled at them. "Where is Wan Yang?" The 2 guards sneered. "Dead men don't need to ask so many questions." As they spoke, they simultaneously drew their long swords from their backs, one to the left, one to the right, their blades crossing. Then, with a flick of their wrists, the blades met and began whirring and grinding together with a sharp clack-clack sound. The piercing screech of steel echoed as the 2 guards spun their swords while advancing toward Deng Shintong. Deng narrowed his eyes, watching them closely, his right hand resting on the hilt of his sword, Griffith. The guards' footsteps grew faster and faster, the spinning friction of their swords intensifying until sparks could be seen flying from the blades. Finally, the two swords merged together, spinning like two giant windmills. Their forms had become ghostly fast, visible only as blurred afterimages. Whoosh! A gale howled as the pair charged at Deng Shintong, one from the left, one from the right, their blades already glowing with intense heat. As they reached Deng Shintong, their paths suddenly crossed. One aimed for his head, the other for his legs. Deng Shintong's form twisted nimbly in midair. He sidestepped, evading both blades. The sheer force of the blades was so powerful that even though his body evaded them, Deng Shintong still felt their terrifying might. Had he been struck directly, even his holy body blessing would likely have suffered damage. In the next instant, a piercing holy light erupted from his body. In a flash, the white radiance became all that existed in this world. The two guards' vision turned to emptiness, they could no longer see anything. Yet between the two of them, an invisible bond seemed to connect them, allowing them to sense each other's presence. They were twins. Through years of training, they had long since reached a state of perfect mutual understanding. The sudden loss of sight was unsettling, but first-rate swordsmen could rely on other senses to discern their opponent's position. Swords clashed midair, emitting a metallic hum that reverberated through the air. Any contact with surrounding objects was transmitted through the blades to their ears and bodies, revealing Deng Shintong's position. Though blinded, they pinpointed Deng Shintong's location with precision and launched another dual sword assault. Unexpectedly, this strike met only empty air. Deng Shintong materialized behind the male guard, his blades slashing down with brutal force. In that life-or-death moment, the guard unleashed astonishing latent power, violently twisting his body mid-air to block the attack with his own sword. Clang! The blades collided. Deng Shintong's sword gouged a deep gash directly into the male guard's blade. The immense force hurled him violently backward. He bounced off the ice more than a dozen times before finally coming to a halt. The male guard struggled to steady himself, his heart now utterly panicked. A single exchange had made him realize just how terrifying the opponent's strength was. Is this the power of the investigation squad captain from Blizzard City in the Jiangnan region? They had never faced a mutant of this level. In the entire Iceflower Swamp region, aside from their master, Wan Yang, the combined might of the brother and sister duo was virtually unmatched. Thus, they confidently believed they could effortlessly slash any intruders. Even if the enemy were Blizzard City's lackeys, they were certain of victory. Yet, cruel reality dealt them a brutal lesson. The might of Blizzard City was beyond their comprehension. They had been spared earlier only because their masters saw no point in the trouble. When the real fight began, what right did they have to think they could stand against the investigation squad captain? Deng Shintong landed lightly. After her brother was knocked flying, the sister swiftly positioned herself before him, sword pointed at Deng Shintong in defense. Deng Shintong watched them with keen interest. Both of you are 9,000+ tier mutants. Impressive talent indeed. Even in today's Blizzard City, you'd be considered second tier. Too bad you never received proper combat training. All self-taught. And your weapons are far too crude. He shook his head. I don't have much time to waste on you. Then let's just end this quickly. He raised his left hand and snapped his fingers sharply. The crisp snap echoed across the Iceflower Swamp. Hearing Deng Shintong's dismissive tone, the guard's siblings instantly boiled with rage. You bastard, don't you dare underestimate us. As their words fell, their bodies underwent astonishing transformations. The sister's form began swelling. Clusters of crimson spikes erupted from her elbows, knees, knuckles, and shoulders, her skin turning a deep crimson. In an instant, she transformed into a crimson giantess over 3 meters tall. Her entire body bristled with razor-sharp spikes. Her brother let out a low growl, dropping to all fours as his muscles began to swell violently. He tore through his clothing, morphing into a 5 to 6 meter long sword wolf, jaws filled with fangs, a massive horn protruding from its head. Plant type, Queen of Thorns. Beast type, Fatal Sword Wolf. The Queen of Thorns roared furiously, charging straight at Deng Shintong. Her body rolled mid-air, transforming into a crimson whirlwind. The blades covering her body whirled like hundreds of swords, shredding everything in their path. Crackle crackle. Where the crimson whirlwind passed, the entire lake surface shattered instantly. The thick, solid ice crumbled like paper scraps. The crimson storm grew ever larger, sweeping across the swamp sky and bearing down on Deng Shintong. The fatal sword wolf refused to be outdone. Its massive hooves stomped the ground beneath, charging toward Deng Shintong in perfect coordination with the Thorn Queen, flanking him left and right. Deng Shintong gripped his long sword, coldly watching the two rapidly closing in, yet made no move. But in the blink of an eye, two colossal forces collided with astonishing force. Boom! The clash of supernatural powers unleashed a terrifying storm over the iceflower swamp. The thick ice beneath shattered instantly, spewing forth warm water currents that had pooled there for years. This flowing liquid, at this moment, became a source of warmth, sending waves of white mist rising into the air. Amber watched from a great distance, witnessing it all with eyes filled with disbelief. She couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Two figures crashed heavily onto the ice. Deng Shintong watched them with an expression of utter calm. The Queen of Thorns' barbed spikes, the fatal sword wolf's razor-sharp fangs and long horn, each pierced the other's body. Only in their final moments did clarity return to their eyes, allowing them to see the full extent of their actions. Cough. Cough. Why? Why did this happen? Deng Shintong replied indifferently, "You simply don't understand what the investigation squad means in Jiangnan region. Monsters like that man do exist in this world, but he is one of the rarest few. To everyone else in Jiangnan, the investigation captain is an absolutely formidable presence. Depriving light can render eyesight useless. But if you think Deng Shintong can only rob people of their vision, you couldn't be more wrong. The synesthesia formed by sight influences the five senses, creating illusions. This technique is called Great Sumru Illusion. If a mutant faced this technique unprepared, it wouldn't just affect two guards who had barely crossed the 9,000-point threshold, even Epsilon would be affected." After slaying the two guards of Wan Yang, Deng Shintong calmly sheathed his long sword. Facing Amber's stunned gaze, he offered only a faint smile. "Let's go. Next, we'll have to deal with the most troublesome person." Amber's heart trembled. Deng Shintong had seen through her fear, yet his gentle words and overwhelming power gradually soothed the deep unease within her. If it's this man before me, perhaps he truly can save me. Amber bit her lip hard, then strained to catch up behind Deng Shintong. They traversed the iceflower swamp shrouded in white mist, arriving before the solitary island. The island was utterly still, deathly silent. The massive Gothic castle resembled a city of the dead. Deng Shintong activated his transparent tactical goggles to scan the island for thermal signatures. He quickly detected at least 30 figures concealed in the shadows. True to form for someone lurking deep in the marshes. Just like Zhang Yi, you crave an impregnable fortress. Except you're nowhere near as good as that bastard. Deng Shintong didn't rush to land. Instead, he stood at a distance and issued combat orders to the intelligence system. Over 10 kilometers away, the Snow Metro Wolf, stationed in the outer perimeter, suddenly underwent a morphological change. Its weapon bays on both sides opened, receiving signals from the nebula star system above. It then precisely locked onto the hidden assassins on the island. Then, hundreds of small missiles erupted from the weapon bays, trailing long white smoke trails as they arced perfectly toward the island. Amber looked up, watching the meteor-like missiles, faintly glowing, plummet rapidly through the sky. From a great distance, they seemed harmless. But as they plummeted down, exploding upon the isolated island, they unleashed terrifying shockwaves. Boom! The hard ground and castle crumbled like tofu under the impact. Deafening roars spread out, invisible shockwaves sweeping across the surrounding marsh, shattering the frozen surface into fragments. Dang Shintong surveyed the castle before him, now reduced to near ruins. This place is ruined. Why aren't you coming out, Wan Yang? He rubbed his neck and sighed with resignation. If you don't show yourself soon, I'll have to deploy cruise missiles to bomb this place. His words had barely faded when a tall figure emerged slowly from the smoke and dust. The man sported a blood-red pompadour and wore a thick, heavy cloak. The Lord of Iceflower Swamp, Wan Yang, formally revealed himself before Deng Shintong. Having witnessed his domain, built over years, destroyed before his eyes, the venom in his gaze toward Deng Shintong was palpable, brimming with icy hatred. Is this all the investigation captain of Blizzard City can muster? I thought you were formidable. Wan Yang sneered coldly, his gaze sweeping over Amber. A single glance was enough to freeze Amber's body in place. She hugged her arms, her body trembling uncontrollably. Disobedient little kitten, did you lead the enemy here? Deng Shintong slowly stepped forward, positioning himself between Wan Yang and Amber. He spread his hands with a playful grin. Just kidding. Cruise missiles aren't that easy to deploy. But, he tapped his nose, slowly opening his eyes to reveal a sharp glint, having the investigation team captain of Blizzard City personally intervene? That's far more impressive than any missile. Wan Yang suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. An investigation squad captain, huh? How amusing. But this isn't the first time I've encountered someone like you. He fixed Deng Shintong with an unflinching gaze, his eyes brimming with undisguised, icy murderous intent. I've already killed 2 investigation squad captains. Looks like today, you'll be the 3rd. In the 2+ years since Blizzard City's founding, numerous combat units had indeed been established. The investigation squad had undergone many rotations, with countless squads perishing in external campaigns. Take the Black Robe Investigation Squad, for instance, and it wasn't the only unit disbanded. Deng Shintong smiled. Too bad the one you encountered wasn't me. Had you met me sooner, you'd be dead already. With that, he drew his sword, pointing it at Wan Yang. Grade A missions were nearly the highest level an investigation squad could undertake. The even higher S-grade missions were reserved for Epsilon-level mutants. Even he had to give his all against targets of that caliber. Thus, Deng Shintong had never intended to take Wan Yang alive. Wan Yang chuckled darkly, then suddenly bellowed, "My little kitten, you don't actually think this man can save you, do you? I'll give you one chance, attack him now." He licked his lips. "If you do, I might forgive your betrayal." Deng Shintong scoffed. "You still think she's a slave under your control? Hey, don't push it. I'm still part of the Heavenly God Squad." Before he could utter the word captain, a sharp click echoed behind him. Deng Shintong froze. As a light elemental mutant, he could warp the light in the air. Beyond creating illusions, this granted him 360-degree vision without blind spots. Just now, he saw Amber draw the gun he'd given her and press it against the back of his head. "Amber?" Deng Shintong's voice held surprise, but he quickly regained his composure. "You think I'm no match for him?" Amber's body trembled slightly. She kept her head down, unable to meet Deng Shintong's gaze. Yet Deng Shintong could sense her fear. This was strange. Amber's ability caused all living beings to instinctively feel affection and a desire to protect her. In theory, no one would ever bring themselves to harm her. So why did she act this way when facing Wan Yang? Wan Yang burst into a loud, raucous laugh. "Yes. That's my sweet little kitten. Now shoot him. Kill him. He won't attack you. Kill him, and I'll reward you handsomely." Seeing Wan Yang's crazed expression, Deng Shintong's eyes darkened slightly. Ah, so he's a pervert. A man of Deng Shintong's experience grasped the reason behind it instantly. Everyone interprets affection differently. But the affection expressed by a pervert is hell for ordinary people. Deng Shintong simply said calmly to Amber, "Trust me, I won't let him hurt you." Amber's hands trembled. She kept her head down, unable to meet Deng Shintong's gaze, yet the oppressive pressure Wan Yang exerted over her remained. It was an instinct ingrained through years of conditioning. Dang Shintong had no idea what she had endured at the hands of Wan Yang. The horrifying, sickening acts committed in the name of love had nearly shattered her completely. Wan Yang grinned savagely. "Little kitty, you're disobeying me now?" His expression suddenly turned vicious. "Resist me, and you should know what awaits you." Amber seemed to recall past events, clenching her jaw tightly. The next moment, she pulled the trigger in her hand. But the shot wasn't aimed at Deng Shintong. It was aimed at Wan Yang. The demon stared in shock at his chest, where a bullet, trailing wisps of smoke, had pierced through his dark cloak. Amber screamed with all her might, "You damn pervert, go to hell." Wan Yang's expression turned furious as he stared at Amber. "Ha ha ha. So you found a new master now, have you? Little kitten. I'll make you regret choosing the wrong person." He fixed his gaze on Deng Shintong. "I'll kill you right now." As the words left his mouth, his body suddenly swelled violently. His clothes ripped apart as a massive, hideously deformed form appeared with a thunderous boom above the iceflower swamp. A foul stench, terrifying, immense fangs, and a crimson maw loomed over Deng Shintong like an abyss. The insubordinate, Wan Yang. Beast-type ability user, ability code, abyssal crocodile. Deng Shintong stared at the enormous monster before him, his gaze instantly sharpening. Compared to this demonic entity, the giant crocodile he'd encountered earlier seemed like a miniature toy. A single fawn alone was larger than Deng Shintong's entire body. Gripping his sword tightly, Deng Shintong finally understood why this demonic entity had reigned supreme over this domain for so long. The demonic entity instantly transformed into a giant crocodile of the abyss, charging straight toward Deng Shintong. Its enormous jaws, like the abyss, descended from above and swallowed Deng Shintong whole in an instant. Deng Shintong activated the holy body blessing ability to its maximum extent, forming an impenetrable defensive layer across his body. Boom! Wan Yang swallowed him whole, then slammed straight into the ice below. Once dragged into the swamp, it was the demon's domain. Without a foothold, Deng Shintong would be at a massive disadvantage. Now, Deng Shintong pressed his sword fiercely against the giant jaws clamping down, struggling to wrestle with this monstrous beast. But Wan Yang's power was overwhelming. The crocodile's bite was terrifyingly strong, and even Deng Shintong struggled considerably. With just one strike, Deng Shintong grasped Wan Yang's true strength. It was easily a being exceeding 9,800 points. This sent shockwaves through Deng Shintong's mind. How could this be? How could such a formidable being exist outside Blizzard City? So there's more than one monster like Zhang Yi? Blizzard City controlled the richest resources in the entire Jiangnan region. Apart from that monster Zhang Yi, other mutants found it difficult to rival Blizzard City, often forced to give up their territories and resources. Thus, Blizzard City was destined to grow ever stronger, while the insubordinates could only survive in the cracks, rarely producing exceptionally powerful individuals. Even a being like Liu Pan was a powerful mutant who had defected from Blizzard City. But how could a creature like Wan Yang, defying all logic, have come into being? Only now did Deng Shintong realize he'd misjudged the situation, completely underestimating the difficulty of his mission. But there was no time for reflection. Wan Yang had seized him and plunged headlong into the frigid swamp. His combat suit automatically shifted into diving mode. Deng Shintong summoned every ounce of strength, using his arms to force the sword between Wan Yang's jaws. Boom! This strike aimed straight for Wan Yang's upper jaw. The sword Griffith plunged into flesh as hard as granite, yet it couldn't pierce through. Even with all his strength, it only sank a few dozen centimeters. But such damage was utterly insignificant to Wan Yang. The monster dragged him deeper underwater. Its massive form stretched over 100 meters, the length of half a city block. Had he not faced it head-on, the sheer terror of this creature would have been unimaginable. Deng Shintong was as insignificant as a scrap of flesh caught in its teeth. Terrifying currents swept Deng Shintong along, battering his body and making it impossible to steady himself and exert force. His gaze shot upward toward the giant crocodile's throat. If its exterior is so solid, then its insides must be incredibly soft. Dang Shintong steeled his resolve, drawing his long sword to swim against the current, charging into the monster's body to shred its insides. But in the next instant, a crimson glow erupted from deep within the throat, instantly transforming into a surging torrent hurtling straight toward Dang Shintong. Dang Shintong's expression darkened. Damn! Trapped within the monster's jaws, evasion was impossible. He could only summon his full strength to expand his holy body blessing, transforming it into a silver light shield before him. Boom! The crimson energy beam slammed directly into his shield. Wan Yang opened his massive jaws, unleashing a pillar of scarlet light that pierced the entire ice flower swamp, shattering the solid ice within a radius of several kilometers into countless fragments. Amber lay trembling on a piece of ice. She lowered her head. Even through the thick ice, she could still see the monstrous, terrifying form of Wan Yang. She clenched her teeth, silently praying. Now, her only hope rested entirely on Dang Shintong. At that moment, Dang Shintong was plummeting through the water. His misjudgment of Wan Yang's power had left him at a severe disadvantage from the very start. Being in the Iceflower Swamp territory meant Wan Yang was on his home turf, allowing him to unleash his abilities to the fullest. But, Dang Shintong was no longer the arrogant young man he once was. Great Sumeru illusion. The moment he was expelled from Wan Yang's mouth, he activated his power. A blinding white light erupted from the depths of the swamp, like a sun leaping from the horizon. Its brilliant radiance enveloped everything around them. Before Wan Yang's eyes, reality dissolved into an illusion, distorted by Dang Shintong's manipulation. Facing the false illusion, the monster opened its massive jaws and, in a bone-chilling posture, bit down with savage force. This strike possessed enough power to cleave a skyscraper in two. Dang Shintong's illusion vanished. His physical form swam behind the monster, aimed at its neck, and thrust his sword downward with brutal force. Holy light enveloped his entire body, gathering upon the blade of the long sword Griffith, gradually condensing into a razor-sharp edge that extended dozens of meters before plunging downward. Thud! The sword tip struck Wan Yang's neck, its hard, rough, and rugged back proving impossible to pierce with a single strike. Dang Shintong gritted his teeth and increased the power output. Finally, the blade pierced Wan Yang's skin with a thud sound, yet it was still blocked by thick bone. Beneath Wan Yang's thick skin lay another layer of heavy bone armor covering its entire body. These two layers of defense were so formidable they bordered on despair. In a sense, Wan Yang was like Zhang Yi, both lacked a sense of security, desperately shielding themselves with every means possible. By now, Dang Shintong was utterly exhausted. Wan Yang, regaining his senses, violently convulsed his massive body underwater. His crocodile tail, dozens of meters long, swept toward Dang Shintong. Boom! Beneath the surface, currents surged violently, the entire marsh trembling. Dang Shintong instinctively realized that if hit squarely by that colossal blow, even with his combat suit's protection, he would likely suffer severe injuries. Therefore, utilizing his suit's propulsion system, he decisively retreated. Soon, Dang Shintong burst through the water's surface. Amber lifted her head, gazing at the man before him. Dang Shintong immediately pulled her close. This place is too dangerous. I'll take you to safety first. He now fully understood that Wan Yang was an extremely difficult foe to handle. Therefore, ensuring Amber's safety was his top priority. Amber replied, "Don't worry about me. He won't kill me. But only if you slay him can I gain true freedom." Dang Shintong didn't get a chance to respond. A thunderous roar erupted from beneath the surface. The monstrous creature, colossal beyond imagination, burst through the water. Its abyss-like maw locked onto the pair and snapped down with terrifying force. Its speed was too swift. Dang Shintong was once again caught in the giant crocodile's jaws. Holding Amber in one arm and his sword in the other, he desperately braced against the crushing bite of the crocodile's jaws. "Didn't you say he absolutely wouldn't kill you?" Dang Shintong looked at Amber in his arms and actually managed a mocking smile. But Amber could see clearly that the hand holding the sword was already struggling to hold its ground. Deng Shintong once again fell into the clutches of Wan Yang, and this time he brought Amber along with him. Amber gritted her teeth. He's a madman beyond reason. Perhaps for Wan Yang, becoming one with another was its own way of loving. Deng Shintong laughed. But I'm not ready to die yet. But you don't look like you can defeat him. Amber spoke with brutal honesty. She shrank back. Perhaps we're both going to die. Are you afraid of death? Afraid? I used to be, but then I stopped being afraid. Now, though, I'm scared again. People are always so complicated, especially a woman like me. Isn't that right? But I won't die, and I won't let you die. Deng Shintong declared with unwavering resolve. I am destined to become a great man who commands the world. I will not fall here. No sooner had the words left his mouth than the snow metro wolves in the distant region transformed once more into long-range artillery, unleashing dozens of missiles in their assault. The speed of the high-velocity missiles was simply too fast for the monstrous Wan Yang to evade. Especially since all its strength was currently focused on tearing Deng Shintong apart. The excruciating pain in its back made it roar in fury, yet it still clenched its jaws with all its might. But that split-second opening was already seized upon by Deng Shintong. One arm clutching Amber, Deng Shintong thrust the other toward Wan Yang's mouth. Holy light blazed, the blade razor-sharp. Silver steel formed a dense net, mercilessly slicing through Wan Yang's oral cavity. But Wan Yang, a master of self-defense, would never leave such an obvious weakness exposed. Its mouth was lined with hard bone. Deng Shintong's blade could only tear the skin, unable to harm its core. Roar! This time, Wan Yang chose to drag Deng Shintong and Amber deeper underwater. The deepest part of this swamp reached hundreds of meters below. Reaching that depth would cause human blood vessels to burst under the sheer water pressure alone. Even with the protection of their combat suits, Deng Shintong and Amber's movements would be severely hampered. Deng Shintong refused to give up. His sword still swung, slashing at the monster's teeth and bones. Alas, his strength was insufficient. A shadow of gloom flickered in Deng Shintong's eyes. In his mind, the words Deng Yuanbo had once spoken to him surfaced. You are not lacking in power. All the advanced technologies of Deng's technology have been poured into you. Even an Epsilon-tier mutant might not possess everything you've ever had. What you lack now isn't resources, but a conviction to fight. Think deeply, what do you truly desire? And for what purpose do you fight? Until you grasp this, you'll never break through to the critical point. What is it that I truly desire? Even in this life-or-death crisis, Deng Shintong remained lost in this question. Throughout his life, there seemed to be nothing he couldn't obtain. A life of excessive abundance had stripped him of ordinary human desires. He even felt that even if he died at 30, his life would still be 10,000 times more spectacular than most people's entire lifetimes. After the apocalypse, his efforts were driven more by the pursuit of glory and acclaim. But were those things truly what he desired? After fleeting moments of brilliance, he often plunged into profound emptiness and solitude. It turned out he had lost his life's purpose long ago. Many things he once deemed important were merely labels imposed by others. But I don't want to die now. Deng Shintong's consciousness snapped back to reality, his gaze sharpening. No matter what happens, only by staying alive can I sort out all this mess. Deng Shintong, now is not the time for melancholy. Facing life and death, he looked at the fragile girl in his arms, and the urge to protect her surged within him. Even knowing it stemmed from her power, the impulse within him could indeed fuel his drive. He locked onto a target and launched a frenzied assault. Humph! A muffled groan echoed from Wan Yang. My mouth is the claustrophobic cage, the most despair-inducing place of death. You won't escape. The words barely left its mouth when an overwhelming pressure surged from all directions, crushing Deng Shintong and Amber's bodies like a meat grinder. Creak! Creak! Deng Shintong heard the battlesuit warping in his ears, feeling as if his own bones were twisting and deforming. Amber, clutched in his arms, had turned deathly pale, looking as if she might be crushed into a pool of blood and flesh at any moment. A sharp pang of pain inexplicably pierced Deng Shindong's heart. An overwhelming thought surged through his mind. He absolutely would not allow this girl to die before his eyes. Just then, Amber wrapped her arms tightly around his waist. In a whisper that sounded like a deathbed murmur, she murmured, "Don't die. Stay alive." After speaking, she made a move Deng Shintong could never have imagined. She suddenly pressed her lips to his. Deng Shintong froze in place. The next instant, he suddenly felt an unusual power surge through his blood. It was as if some kind of shackle within him had been unlocked. Amber's ability was called, in the name of love, a power born of being loved. Fearing harm, she desired everyone to cherish her. But love is mutual. Those who are loved can also offer their own love. When she did so, she could enhance the power of those she cherished. This power had once been greedily monopolized by Wan Yang, enabling him to become the master of the Iceflower Swamp territory. Now, she bestowed this ability upon Deng Shintong. The innate talent he had accumulated over years yet never fully unleashed was ignited in this instant. Wan Yang plunged deeper into the marsh with the two aboard, suddenly sensing a surging, vibrant power welling up within its jaws. A blinding white light flared like the sun. Snap! Its jaws, capable of crushing force, were forcibly pried apart. What? This? Impossible! Wan Yang reared back in shock, then clamped down with all its might, determined to tear Deng Shintong to pieces. Boom! A colossal force slammed into his long jaws, shattering his prison. Deng Shintong transformed into a streak of white light, carrying Amber out of the Iceflower Swamp. No! You can't leave. She's mine. The demon roared furiously, shaking the entire Iceflower Swamp. Lake water, mixed with massive chunks of ice, surged skyward. A colossal crocodile, over 100 meters long, charged straight toward Deng Shintong. Deng Shintong coldly surveyed the colossal jaws below. In the next instant, a flash of yellow light pierced the sky. A massive cruise missile plummeted like a meteor, targeting Wan Yang. You didn't think I was joking when I said I could summon cruise missiles, did you? Boom! A massive cruise missile plummeted, directly obliterating the area where Wan Yang was located. The violent shockwave from the explosion blasted a colossal crater into the center of the Iceflower Swamp, engulfing Wan Yang in blinding yellow flames. Deng Shintong had already fled far away with Amber. Amber stared at him in shock. Huh? Is this even possible? Deng Shintong looked down at the fair-skinned girl and smiled faintly. Actually, my family is quite wealthy. By the way, this missile was made by our own company. He rubbed his fingers together. Just a little family business. Amber's eyes widened, momentarily speechless. But soon, Wan Yang's roar echoed from the distance. A single cruise missile wasn't enough to kill him. He was the sort who'd wrap himself in thick armor if he could, his entire body a layer of skin and bone defense that allowed him to withstand cruise missiles capable of obliterating several city blocks. He burst out from the explosion's epicenter, charging straight toward Deng Shintong and Amber. But his condition wasn't much better now. Even a mutant remained carbon-based, not an invulnerable body of steel. His skin was torn, blood streaming down his body. His charging form was bloody and ferocious. Deng Shintong felt his newly acquired power surge. Sword in hand, he strode forward, assuming a fencing stance. The power of holy light gathered at the sword's tip, gradually forming a silver four-pointed star. Concentrate the piercing force into a single point to unleash the most powerful single target strike. Now, can my power still pierce through your body? Deng Shintong murmured softly to himself before thrusting his sword toward Wan Yang. The blade took an unconventional path, relying on speed for victory. His strike was so swift that only a streak of silver holy light could be seen, appearing instantly between him and Wan Yang. Pfft! The silver four-pointed star exploded upon Wan Yang's skull. The impenetrable defense of the giant crocodile was finally breached. Damn it! Amber, how dare you bestow your power upon him? This is an intolerable betrayal. You belong to me. Wan Yang raged. Though the sword pierced his skull, his colossal size allowed him to avoid the vitals. Thud. The massive body leapt to a supreme height, plummeting toward Deng Shintong. Its gaping maw opened like a gigantic pair of pincers. The crocodile's kiss was its most formidable weapon. She's not your possession. Deng Shintong showed no fear facing the colossal beast. He parried the falling crocodile's attack with his sword, then thrust it into its soft underbelly. The monster's abdomen was pierced, blood gushing forth like a fountain. It swiftly lashed its tail. The strike was so fast Deng Shintong couldn't dodge in time. Yet as the tail swept through the air, but somehow, Deng Shintong vanished the instant it descended. This feeling is incredible. My senses, speed, and strength have all surged dramatically. It's as if the shackles within my body have been completely unlocked. Is this her power? Deng Shintong glanced at Amber in the distance, his mind already grasping the truth. Roar! The demon opened its massive jaws, unleashing a crimson beam of energy toward his position. This time, he missed again. Wan Yang finally sensed something was amiss. What the hell is going on with this guy? Even the fastest speed couldn't possibly dodge my attack's time and again so effortlessly, leaving me unable to detect his movements. Confused, he began scrutinizing its surroundings. Finally, his sharp senses for supernatural abilities pinpointed the source of the problem. At some unknown moment, dozens of human-sized white mirrors had materialized within the surrounding space. Each time it attacked Deng Shintong, he vanished from one location only to reappear at another mirror's position. Is this a spatial ability? Wan Yang roared in a low voice, his tone laced with caution. Not quite what you imagine. Deng Shintong replied with a smile, his long sword in hand. My power is light. The speed of light is the benchmark of this universe, the measure of all things. His sword slowly rotated, a brighter four-pointed star coalescing at its tip. Though I cannot truly become light, within the mirrored realm, I can achieve instantaneous movement. Mentioning this, he suddenly spoke with a hint of pride. Even that fellow cannot move without a time gap. No sooner had the words left his mouth than the sword's light surged, piercing toward Wan Yang from the sky. Gritting his teeth, Wan Yang's massive form swiftly shifted across the ice, evading this terrifying strike. But in the next instant, a four-pointed star erupted from beneath his soft body, piercing straight through his chest and abdomen. Crack! His body gravely wounded, Wan Yang spat a large pool of blood from its mouth. What? What just happened? He was utterly bewildered. He had clearly dodged Deng Shintong's attack. So why had he still been struck? He looked down beneath him. There lay a smooth, polished ice surface, like a bright mirror. Mirror images perfectly reflect light, including the energy it contains. Within the area of my mirror image, I don't need to aim my sword at you. I simply leave an imprint, then control the trajectory to create an attack that envelopes the entire area. It won't stop until it hits its target, and there's no way to evade it. I call this technique Celestial Eclipse. The monstrous form of Wan Yang was being cut apart. Its current state was terrifying, for this strike was deadly enough. Yet while Deng Shintong's attack halted, other attacks did not. For instance, the battle chariot Snow Metro Wolf continued firing missiles at his body from afar. Ah! The excruciating pain snapped the demon back into human form. His entire waist was nearly severed. No matter how he clutched at the wound, blood gushed relentlessly from the gaping wound. Damn it! He glared at Deng Shintong, his hatred intensifying especially when his gaze fell upon Amber. He reached out a hand toward Amber, like an eagle's talon, intent on gripping her firmly within his palm. Amber, you are mine. Why betray me? Were you not happy when we were together? Shut up! Amber screamed with every ounce of strength. She glared at Wan Yang with hatred, clenching her fists, finally able to vent all her pent-up emotions. From the very first day I met you, I've wanted nothing more than to see you dead. Deng Shintong made no comment about the two of them. Sometimes, silence was the greatest respect one could offer. He raised his sword, and in midair, countless mirrors of light materialized, encircling the demon. Sacred power of light, carve the long sky. Judgment. A silver four-pointed star blazed across the azure sky. This time, it took away Wan Yang's life completely.